Welcome everybody to a.
It's just me.
It's
Ha ha
just
ha.
you.
Taking over the show. And if you're watching on video, you're just looking at my face on a split screen. There's not two. And now it's just Jim, and now it's just me again. I'm
I
giving you the
don't know
play by
what's.
play.
Can you hear me at all, Andy?
Yes, I can hear you. I just can't.
What the
And I can
hell?
see you in the lobby. I cannot see you on the screen.
This is bizarre. So now I got to figure out what's going on as we have
I
a
think
guest.
it's. I think it's penance for making me listen to that song another time today because I'm gonna be listening to it at my son's graduation this evening.
It must be. And so what we're
Thank
gonna
you.
do is, for some reason, it's just got us going one person at a time. I don't really know why. So we'll roll with it. I'll get it figured out. But we'll start the show. But I didn't just do that, Andy, because I was trying to torture you. I looked at the schedule today, and the schedule today is incredibly negative. There we are.
I
There we
I
both
at
are,
least
sort
got you
of.
back on the screen. I
Okay,
couldn't get
that'll
your.
have to work for now. So the schedule today is incredibly negative, but
So, I'm sorry. Somehow I have admin control, so that's why we've flipped
oh,
layouts again.
now we are. Look at this. You see, this is what happens when the show goes to Tennessee, Andy. We get dumber.
Well,
See,
that's fair.
much like the president, the vice president are supposed to be, we can never be in the same city at the same time. So Andy's in Austin, so of course I come to Tennessee. But the reason we started the
That's how that
show with the
works.
eyes of Texas is, I looked at the schedule, and it's a pretty negative schedule to talk about, except you and I have some things to celebrate. We're going to start with your son today, graduating from University of Texas. Um, and your son got into one of the heart colleges. He didn't just get into the old College of Liberal Arts like your co-host. Tell us what's happening with him. Is it today that he's graduating?
Today at 6 o'clock, the Cockrell School of Engineering will have their ceremony. At least for the electrical engineers, that's as much as I know. But he is graduating with an electrical engineering degree. He is one of the fortunate people who has a job lined up the minute he graduates. He is almost off the payroll, not entirely, but getting there. Uh, I think he's taking over his car payment in June after we get back from Europe. So it's positive feelings all around today in Austin, even though it's kind of a gloomy day so far. Waiting for the sun to come out a little bit. It's overcast, a little humid. Feels like home.
Feels like home. Hey, where are they doing the graduation for his college?
At the mood.
Okay, okay.
Whatever that hippie professor, RTF professor you guys have calls the Moody Center.
That's right. And I did tease myself by saying I did get into the liberal arts school at UT, which is not hard to get into. I also got into the film department, and I'm going to do a shout out to one of my favorite film students I've ever had. His name is Michael. And he found out last night that he's going to be a Longhorn at the RTF program. And for those of you watching, one of the things I think this makes this show work is Andy and I both acknowledge that the two universities that we celebrate on this show are very good academically in a lot of different places. And Texas is known for a lot of stuff, but it's actually one of the top 10 film schools in the country and actually ranked as the number one public school. So it's a very big accomplishment to get straight in as a freshman. So congratulations to Michael. And also we're going to do a shout out to the good folks at Bangers who we know very well on Rainy Street. Why are we shouting out Bangers, Abe? We got a lot going on this morning.
Well, we're staying at a hotel near Rainy Street, right off the 35 feet or access road, as they say outside of Houston. And my wife is still asleep at 8 o'clock in the morning. So I had to find a place to broadcast. I thought I had meeting space reserved in the hotel. Evidently, that was not true because where I was going is closed for maintenance. But the manager at Bangers graciously allowed me to sit here and take a bench space while they're not open, but they are smoking things. Meets rest. Uh, and so they're allowing me to do the show from this corner of their patio with the promise that I will eventually be eating here over the next couple of days. And I've eaten here, at least a couple dozen times in the
I was going
past.
to
So
say,
I'm a continued, a returning loyal customer. So
Bangers is
rewarded.
one of
I don't know that everybody gets rewarded for that, but if you are on Rainy Street, you're looking for barbecue, you're looking for sausages. They now have a sub shop where they serve burgers and cold cut sandwiches. Absolutely stop by Bangers. It's a fantastic place. Great beer selection and often live music.
Yeah, Bangers is actually one of the places in Austin that Jessica and I continue to enjoy and bring people to. And more than one post shoot wrap party at there. So yeah, just a lot going on, a lot of positive. And it's funny because I want to begin talking about a virus because why not? Um, right around the time Jake got into UT, we were coming off of a virus, and so now it's funny. But everything I don't know what you've like. I remember the Hunta virus being a thing when one of the things we had to be aware of when we went to Bosnia because it's carried in rat urine. There's rat everywhere, but I think people do need to hold their water on its level of contagion. We're not looking at another pandemic by any stretch. I don't think.
Well, it's harder to spread, but it's more deadly than COVID or most of the things we worry about when we talk about those things. I think 35% of the people who contract it do not survive. But uh, you have to actively, I wouldn't say try to get it, but it's not like it's airborne going through particles. Having said that, in an uncontrolled environment, yeah, it's something you need to be concerned about, like a cruise ship, which is a self-contained. You know what? I think
I
we've
would
had
never. I
enough.
don't.
I think we've had enough lessons about things that can happen on cruise ships, whether it's a disease or whether their entire electrical and plumbing systems go out. You're stuck on the ocean, and you are at the mercy of somebody else deciding you can get out of the ocean. So I don't know that doesn't make me comfortable. I can barely do a plane sitting in it for a few hours at a time, knowing somebody else is in control. A boat's an entirely different thing. I've done a couple cruises. I don't know that I ever need to do a cruise again. Although I will say, the old people riverboat cruise through Europe does seem fun
Okay, so my in-laws are cruise people, and they have done that one, and they do love it. But
because
this is
I
exactly.
am that age now.
Yeah, well, but and they, and they always want Jessica and I to go. They're like, "Oh, come do this cruise," and I love the idea of it. But this is exactly why I don't want to do it. It's the complete lack of control. And then of course you could get sick and die.
Well, I think the difference for me in the riverboat cruise is you're on a river, so I legitimately could just jump out
Just
and
jump
get
out.
to shore if I needed to. In the ocean, that is a tougher prospect to do, of course. Um,
It is.
yeah, I think the other concern about it though is that whether we want to be or not, our country is viewed as one of the leaders in the research and the containment of infectious diseases. At least we were up until, I don't know, March of 2025, when those entire programs were gutted by our current Secretary of Health and Welfare. Uh, it's dangerous when you have a vaccine conspiracy theorist in charge of the country's healthcare.
What are you
I just
talking
leave.
about? I don't know what you're talking about.
I don't know. I mean, maybe we should all cut off rat penises and keep them in our wallets. Maybe that's a thing we should all be doing. But the fact that we have the issue to me is not that Hunta virus is on a boat somewhere. The issue is that I don't know that our government, as it's currently constructed, has the personnel or the know-how to deal with it should it become a problem. Heaven help us if another COVID or something like that comes along. But this is something that is manageable, containable, controllable if you have the personnel who knows what they're doing. I think we cut all those guys sometime last year.
Well, you're not wrong, and I will say I'll say that I was wrong because when Trump took over when he got in charge, I expected him to sort of fire top level bureaucrats, but I kind of figured that most of the people whose job it was to do this stuff will kind of just stay on the job. No, they've done a pretty good job of weeding out everybody up and down the ranks, not just
Fraud.
in the military, but all through things. And yeah, I mean, I do think your concern is a real legit one as far as you know, could they really handle a pandemic or what if we have to deal with something like that? And I don't know that they can because I don't think
Well,
they, yeah,
Jim, it was all about eliminating fraud and waste.
and wokeness.
By the way, if your elected officials pass a law, get it through all the steps to become a law, it's not fraud. You may not agree with it, but it's not fraud. It's actually money being distributed within the relegation of the system that we have in place. Elect better officials if you don't like it.
Yeah, that is the thing is this concept of and it's very the sort of conservative Republican Party that I grew up in of if you remember the talking points, you know going back to really like the rise of like Rush Limbaugh and everything, but the rise the talking point was always personal responsibility, personal
Mm-hmm.
responsibility, personal responsibility. The Republican Party has now become one of basically what they used to include and accuse the Democratic Party of, find someone to blame and remove that because, God forbid, elections have consequences. And you're exactly right. Just because you don't like the outcome of an election doesn't make that election something that was stolen from you. And most of the people that got fired during Doge were 10 and 15 and 20-year veterans who were serving their country. I don't mean veterans, military veterans,
Yeah.
veterans in their field, serving their country across multiple administrations. Fauci was hired by Republicans and Democrats, I believe, beginning with Bush's father. So this isn't was not a like a liberal politician mole put in there to ruin Trump's life. That's what he did his entire career.
I mean, old Italian doctors aren't known for their liberalness, I would say.
They are not. They're hardly the bra burning,
No,
cutting off
I would
penises
not
in
say,
elementary school kind.
woke is not how I would describe Dr. Fauci. But anyway, yeah, so that's a concern, like so many other things in this country. If you want to keep it lighter, we can be concerned about the Astros because they're also a problem that
Well, that's yeah.
I
I
don't think
would
our government is equipped to deal with them either.
no, they're not. And it's funny. Let's as we transition from one medical story to another. Um, when I did not hear about the full extent of Correa's injury until one of my graduating seniors, who I'll dedicate the opening next week because she's going to be going to A&M. I think in their College of Engineering. I think I need to find out for sure on that. But um, came in and she said, "Mr. D, the Astros medical staff described it as a catastrophic ankle injury." And I'm like, for a medical staff that's been very like, oh, he's just got an owie, to
Day
say
to
the
day.
words catastrophic, like he said, basically like all of his tendons popped. And this is not the ankle that everybody was worried about. If you go back, people remember the Mets
No.
were going to sign him. This is a whole other deal.
Yeah, and the Giants. The reason he is not a San Francisco Giant right now is because of his other ankle, but fears that something similar was going to happen to that ankle. Evidently, it happened to the, let's just say, left ankle, and the right ankle was the initial problem. I may have that backwards, but it's a 50-50 shot. Who knows?
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, and it's another freak injury because similar to Spencer Arrighetti missing most of the season with a broken thumb last year from a batting practice fly ball, this was Carlos Correa taking swings in the cage prior to a game and tearing, popping, whatever you want to call it, a major tendon in his ankle that's going to require at least a 6 to 8 month recovery time, which means he's done for the year. And it's just one more nail in the coffin that should be Dana Brown's career with the Astros, and honestly, the 2026 season. I just don't know how a franchise, how a group of 26 to 50 guys, because how many people we keep rotating on and
Yeah.
off the roster, uh, deal with the emotional weight of the people they consider leaders continuing to go out. We're not quite in the desperate times that we were last year with position players, but it's getting pretty close.
Yeah,
Um,
you almost have to thank Dana Brown for his ineptitude by not being able to move Paredes.
yeah, I mean, and I guarantee you there's somebody out there, oh, Dana Brown's playing 4D chess because he knew that somebody wasn't going to stay healthy. He probably did, and he should have done more to make it a well-rounded team that could withstand some of this stuff. Uh, this had to be a concern last year, and I know this is a freak thing on the other ankle, but when you reacquire Carlos Correa at the salary you're paying him, every other team in baseball knows there is an injury risk. The Astros wanted the leadership and were willing to forgo that. They're now going to reap the whirlwind of that decision because he's got, what, $25 million or so tied up in our payroll that's going to prevent any kind of moves to, and I don't think, and I'm not advocating the Astros should be making any moves other than selling players at this point, but it again, the nail in the coffin that is this season, because I just don't see how the amount of payroll that's sitting on the IL for the rest of the year, you make any moves to get better outside of going younger. And
Yeah.
I don't know that the current regime has an appetite for that. I will tell you, I was having a conversation, and there's a lot of people who wake up every day and check social media for one particular piece of news that is this the day that it happened. Astros fans are waiting for 3 of those days, or some of us are anyway, and 2 of those are a lot less terminal than the other one I'm talking about. But I got to imagine any day now it's Joe Espada and Dana Brown being told they don't have jobs.
I can't imagine like even from a almost from and I know that this is not how you make decisions, but it is a public relations business, almost
Yeah,
from a public relations perspective. Jim Crane has promised that you are going to
the window
keep
will
a
never
winner.
close.
The window will never close. And the one thing you can affect right now is trying to bring in a little extra life, and a change in manager is the other thing. And like the other people that say, well, why would you want to fire your GM right before the draft? Please point to players that tell me I want this GM to be doing the draft.
Yeah, I'm still waiting. And I don't think the book's written on Bryce Matthews. I don't think the book's written on Ethan Frey or some of the other guys that
Or
he's picked up
Janik.
in the yeah, some of the other guys he's picked up in the last three drafts. But the fact that none of them have been impact major leaguers, and I don't mean all-stars, I mean guys who can come in and play competently every day. Even Cam Smith, which was the cornerstone of the Kyle Tucker trade last year, uh, had a so-so first season, and this year we're still kind of waiting for him to turn it on a permanent basis. He looks much better this year, and I think the trajectory on him is high. He would be one of the people I would consider untouchable, but that's one of a multitude of acquisitions and trades and draft picks that this current regime has made over 3 years, and it's one. I just, there's not the multitude of players, and we've talked about how much we don't value at Baseball America and some other organizations their ranking of the Astros minor league system, but the reality is we just don't have a lot of bullets. We get one or two bullets and we hope that they hit. We don't
Yeah.
have an entire magazine that we get to pick from, like other franchises do. Uh, my caption today is who is the first pick of the 2027 Major League Baseball draft, because we're going to be in contention for it.
We are. And, Matt, I'm looking at the numbers right now. Bryce Matthews has at least gotten his OPS up over 700. He's still only hitting 213. Um, Walker might be tradable. I mean, if you're a team that is a contender, he's only got a year
Yep.
and a half left on his deal. He's got over a 900 OPS. I mean, that could be a nice piece for somebody that's trying to win a pennant.
Well, I will say this for Christian Walker. The player we're getting this year is the player we were hoping to get last year. I still think, and I'm going to be told, I'm being woke again, but I still think the fact that he and his wife were expecting his first baby, um, the pressure of signing a big contract, coming to a new city that was perpetually a playoff team, all weighed on him, because once that daughter was born last summer, he got much better. This offseason, he dedicated himself to losing about 10 pounds. He's been able to get around on fastballs a lot better. He's playing much better defense at first base than he was. And he was decent last year, certainly an upgrade from Jose Abreu. Um, he is the kind of guy that is going to be very attractive to teams in the next couple of months. And I don't necessarily want to see him go, but I would understand if you're going to get good young players in exchange that he's probably the most likely to go. And
Our
honestly, I think Paredes is almost right behind him. The only thing that would keep Paredes on is he's got a couple more controllable years after this one.
Well, our good friend H Town Wheelhouse over at Locked On Astros just commented. It's a high risk, high reward idea, but he said he tried to go positive last night on his show. And if you're not watching his show every night after Astros games, first of all, oh my God, God bless you. That's time out of purgatory having to talk about this team every night. But his whole thing is Omar Lopez is your manager and Carlos Correa is your bench coach. Um, because, and he's saying the same thing I've been worried about. He might not recover from this. And then if you factor in everything that we're talking about a work stoppage next year,
Yeah.
that's an old player in 2028 trying to come back from this injury.
Well, and not that it caused it or anything, but the fact that Jeremy Pena has been out basically since the first week of the season and was only playing part-time then, and I guess McTaggart said that he's going to be going out on a rehab assignment soon, but there's been no updates on him. And I think thankfully they turned it from a knee injury into a hamstring injury, so that's a little less concerning. But a hamstring is one of those things that pops up all year long. If Pena had been healthy and playing shortstop every day, Carlos Correa is at third base every day, and I think the strain on his body is a little bit less.
Yeah.
Um, he may be a guy that if he's still playing because what payroll is tied up, that he's limited to first base because he just can't run around anymore. And that would be a really interesting arm at first base. But yeah, I don't know what you do. I do think Correa would make a hell of a manager, though, if that's something he's interested in doing. Um, and learning from Omar Lopez or learning on the job wouldn't be the worst thing in the world. But trying to stay positive, I would love to see Correa as our starting third baseman in 2027 or whenever the 26th season resumes. I guess the good news is because we all expect a work stoppage, he's got all the time in the world to recover.
He
There's no
does.
rushing back for spring training.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, because I think the most generous projections for next year's season, it's not starting on time. I think they're about to
No.
start negotiations next month about you know the new CBA and what that means. But the fact that you're seeing owners start selling off assets like Jim Crane has done with the minor league teams, and then starting to leak out that they don't make any money again. That
Yes.
we've been around this game enough to know that's usually a sign for something.
What is that? Every 5 to 6 years, we start hearing about how poor all of the billionaires who own Major League Baseball
Yeah.
clubs are.
I just, we're kind of a country are we living in where a billionaire can't seem to make ends meet. That's what I'm
I
talking
had
about.
to hawk my fourth Bentley yesterday, and I was not happy about it.
Not, yeah. I mean, it's just, thanks Obama,
It was Joe
for
Biden's fault.
it's Joe Biden's fault. Um, yeah, I don't know, man. I mean, it is hot. It's funny though that Jessica used to kind of accuse me. Not, I don't want to say accuse me. That's a tough way to phrase it. Of maybe taking Astros losses too hard, and she did tell me that this year I seem much more zen about it.
Yeah, you don't really have a choice. If you are look, I hope that I'm wrong when I say things like this, and I hope that this team comes out of the funk, and I'd love for them to compete for a division title. Having said that, the odds get deeper every day against that happening. And I just don't see that beyond everything else going on, this team does not have enough pitching to be a contending team. It doesn't have enough pitching to really be even a 500 team. I don't see any impetus to rush Josh Hader back. I don't see any impetus to rush Hunter Brown back because what are they actually playing for at this point? It's they're limited to getting to 500 at this point, and I don't see it happening. They're not consistent enough to win more than 2 games in a row.
And the
Um,
offense has started to really. The injuries are starting to really affect the offense.
sure,
We were leaning on the offense, scoring 7 runs a game at the beginning of the season, and I think they've scored two each the last two.
yeah, and and again, the Dodgers are a superior team in almost every way, and I know it pains Astros fans to hear that. But they have every piece you could want, and their pitching is top notch. Beyond everything else, even when they do go through games like Tuesday's game where they only score 1 run, their pitching limited us to 2 runs. I mean, that was a classic old National League style game, I guess,
Yeah,
if you're
I
into that sort of thing.
was waiting
But
for Dusty Baker to hit leadoff for the Dodgers.
yeah, and J.R. Richard to try to beat him because they're old friends. He used to try to hit
Well,
me every game. We're old friends.
we're gonna get to some beaning in a second. But yeah, I think just to close the book on it, we're going to continue to keep watching this Astros
Yeah,
team, just like our friends, H Town Wheelhouse, Locked On Astros, and Back to the Bullpen are going to continue to do. It's what
it's
you
still
do
it's still baseball. It's still better than getting poked in the eye with a sharp stick.
that
And
much, but
for
still,
those of you that like going to baseball games, tickets in the second half of the season are going to be really, really
yeah.
affordable and available.
And they've got some really good theme nights coming up. I think I'm
Yeah,
going to try to get out to Peanuts Night in June. I mean,
just enjoy yourself at the ballpark, but and don't you won't have the pressure of staying all game and hoping to see a win.
you won't, yeah. If you
Matter
need
of
to beat
fact,
traffic,
if they have a lead and you see a Brian Abreu coming in, maybe that's a good time to go.
yeah, for all you know, they
Don't
want.
check your phone.
I like to call those games the John Jedget special because growing up, I didn't know games went past the seventh inning.
That's right. We have to get out after the stretch.
Yeah, you got to beat traffic. But Dad, if everyone's trying to beat traffic, that's the traffic.
You are the traffic.
You
Well,
are
I'm
the
trying
traffic.
to. That's one of my fun things driving in Houston, and I guess it's everywhere. But There wouldn't be this line to exit if you people didn't keep cutting in line.
That's the thing. If we all go the same speed, there's no traffic.
If you just got in the back of the line, we'd all be going at, a normal speed. Instead, we all have to stop for you to try to cut.
Yeah, it's selfish.
Cutters, cutters.
Cutters. Hey, there was a lot of pushback, especially when the Astros stopped pitching well, about not bringing back Framber Valdez. And the fact is, we had heard reports that it was really a much bigger deal in the clubhouse what happened last year with the hit batter and Cesar Salazar than maybe it was let out to believe, which is the job of Joe Espada to keep things in the
Mm-hmm.
clubhouse. But everything we had heard was that there was maybe somebody had thrown Valdez against the wall afterward. I mean, there was almost no coming back, and we saw it again. And what was even more pathetic, Andy, when he threw at Trevor Story after giving up back-to-back home runs, his third home run, I think, in 2 innings, was the Red Sox play-by-play guys completely mocking him for what he pulled in Houston, and then saying, "I hope he doesn't cross up his catcher next." Um, I mean, I guess water is wet and Fromber's still a head case.
Yeah, there was not a chance, and I know Astros fans like to throw graphics up on players that have left, and they were certainly doing that before his last start, about his quality starts. And Framber Valdez has the talent to be a very good major league pitcher. He is a very good major league pitcher, bordering on great sometimes. The problem for Framber Valdez has always been the problem for Framber Valdez is that if anything doesn't go his way, even if it's perceived that it's not going his way, he's going to lose his shit. Sometimes it's for a batter, sometimes it's for an inning, sometimes it's going to knock him out of the game. Um, what happened in was it in Boston or was it in
Yeah,
Detroit?
I believe it
It was
was. No, it was in Detroit, I think.
in Detroit. What happened in Detroit this week was a microcosm of the last couple of years of Framber Valdez in the Astros clubhouse. He became unruly, difficult to manage. I will say this on his defense: the pitch clock screwed with this guy's head more than I think anything else has in
I
his
think a
career.
hundred percent.
But he's always been this guy. He's going to give up a home run, then he's going to throw it the next batter. And lately being the last couple of years, that means more often than not he's hitting a batter. And if this was 1968, that kind of behavior would be applauded. In 2026, there's a lot more money on the line for these players, and there's a lot less willingness to put up with that kind of bullshit from a hitter from a pitcher, especially a pitcher that never has to face live pitching.
Exactly.
Um, and the reason the Astros didn't even try to re-sign him was very simply because he's become a clubhouse cancer. The reason that he ended up in Detroit is because AJ Hinch was one of the few people willing to take a chance on him, and that's why he sat out on the free agent market for as long as he did. If you just look at the stats, there's no reason he sits out for as long as he was. He's a left-hander. He's going to give you 20 quality starts a season. He's going to pitch 6 innings every time, but he still sat out till nearly March. And the reason for that is exactly what you saw. There's going to be a meltdown. You hope it's not major. Right now, they
Ye-
get to deal with him. I guess he's going to miss at least one turn in the rotation because the weird suspension rules in Major League Baseball. He was originally
Right.
suspended for 6 games, and they said, well, we appeal. All right, 5 games. There wasn't a meeting. There wasn't a hearing. Just, okay, now it's 5 games. So,
Well, you put it that way, 5 games.
yeah. So I guess he's going to miss one start. But more than that, I think it was very telling that AJ Hinch didn't even try to defend the actions. Just called it basically reprehensible, and there's no room for that in baseball.
Yeah.
And when your own manager can't find the way to politic away the badness, it, that's it's a tough road that Fromber has chosen to go down.
Yeah, it's a tough road, and it's unfortunate. And I do think you're right. I do think that um, there was a moment with the pitch clock where all of his routine that he had come up with between pitches to settle himself completely got thrown out the window because of time, and then that really ended up rushing him. I am in Knoxville right now, though, so we got some college baseball to talk about. Longhorns are going to be going up against a not a great Tennessee team, but it's still hard to beat anybody on the SEC in the road. I'll be out there tomorrow night. Very much looking forward to it. Very much looking to see if Aiden and Carson are going to break the Longhorn season single home run record, because we don't hit a lot of home runs in our history. I think that record is 21. So yay. A&M
Well,
has
that's
Ole
because
Miss coming to town.
Gus didn't want a small park.
No, he didn't. He wanted it to play like Rosenblatt. So
And
that
for
was
those of you that don't, yeah, for those of you that don't understand what I'm talking about, Cliff Gustafson was a coach at Texas for 25 years ish.
a long time.
And the fact that Dish Falk still plays to the same dimensions that he kind of demanded when he became coach, and earned that right because he was a very successful coach in that program. Uh, it's a little bit telling, and I think that's part of the renovations that your athletic director continues to talk about is redoing the park, but changing the dimensions a little bit, making it a little bit more neutral than it has been in the past. Uh, I know that's one of the things they sold Slosh on, besides just the opportunity to coach at Texas, is all this stuff is coming down the pike. So
Yeah,
it'll be interesting to see. But the fact that's Gus's legacy for now, he hasn't coached in 20 years.
yeah. And it happened but it also happened to fit Augie's style too, where Augie was always a good pitching, small ball, move runners around. But it was what Rosenblatt used to play really big too. I don't know how the new place plays. Um, but yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I've heard nothing but great things about how pretty the University of Tennessee campus is. I'm gonna spend a lot of time walking around. It's gonna be a good time.
But I'll be interested to see your take on Lindsey Nelson Stadium, because it's with the success that the Tennessee program has had over the last 5 to 7 years. They've been doing a lot of renovations to it, so I'll be interested to see how it feels to you as a ballpark guy.
Well, I will tell you this: the Uber driver last night was very upset that they started changing the ballpark and then the coach left. I heard about that for about 20 minutes.
Sure. Um, there's a certain amount of delusion in the world, and I'm married into a Tennessee volunteer family, so there is no delusion quite like the Tennessee volunteer delusion, because they believe they are somehow a national power in everything they do. And I've got college rankings that prove otherwise. I've got
Yeah,
everything but women's basketball
women's
history to prove
basketball. Yeah,
otherwise.
yeah, that came up yesterday too.
Oh,
And
they don't
then
like it when they don't like it when the women's basketball, the Lady Vols, aren't winning.
yeah, and apparently the big drama was the most recent coach they fired is a former player, and that
Yep.
was big piece of drama. But A&M's heading to Ole Miss, number 20 team in the country, so a top 25 matchup. I mean, I think we could both agree that, as we sit here right now, 2.5 games behind Georgia with 6 SEC games to play, that seems like a pretty insurmountable lead for Georgia right now.
Yeah, barring the Georgia collapse, and I haven't even bothered to look at who they're playing this last 2 weeks. I
They've got
think that they,
LSU, which is not a good team at home, and then let's see, who do they have win the tournament before the tournament starts? So yeah, I mean it's just not going to be great. Not a
yeah.
lot
So
of
I think
opportunity.
things can happen, but barring a Georgia collapse, these last 2 weekends, I think they've kind of sewn up the conference for the regular season. So there's the tournament. And then there's the frustrating part of the SEC tournament, which is coaches getting ready for the NCAA's and not taking it quite as
hey,
seriously as
hey,
they might.
Longhorn fans, you know those Tuesday starters you don't like?
Yeah, you're going to see a lot of them.
You see a lot of them.
Cade Bing is going to get innings
Yeah, he is, baby.
in Alabama. So yeah, it's that time of the season. A&M needs to win the series in Oxford, mostly because we ended up dropping a series to Auburn last weekend if they want to have a hope of securing their national seed. I feel better about the Mississippi State matchup next weekend, but Ole Miss is kind of a weird team in that they don't fit the normal SEC profile with a lot of power hitters, but they do, once they get on base, run all over the place.
They do,
Very
yeah.
much a speed and defense kind of team. So it'll be a interesting matchup and kind of one different than the Aggies have had to face this year. So it'll be a fun watch, hopefully. But I'd love to take two of three to make up for the Auburn series loss last weekend.
Yeah, and then like you said, Mississippi State comes to town for you guys to end
And then
things, and then we've got
yeah, you
Missouri.
get Missouri the last weekend, which we swept earlier. Missouri, you should see some Tuesday night starters there. I think you've got some like the 35th and 36th guys on your roster. They should get some time against Missouri.
Maybe I'll get a couple of innings.
You might if you show up.
I
I would
mean,
say that
yeah,
about going to an Astros game, but that's more of a threat than a reward at
more
this
than
point. So
than a
you're going to have to
promise.
pitch. No, you're going to have to
Yeah,
stay in for at least 3 innings. We don't have anybody else.
yeah. I'm starting to see in college football, though. I'm starting to see a lot more people want to talk about this whole 2014 playoff thing. I'm starting to really warm up to it, particularly when you just look at the inequities of the SEC schedule versus something like the Big Ten. And I think it's almost like Andy, I'm prepared for the best Longhorn team in the last, I don't know, 15 years to maybe only win 9 games again and miss the playoff.
Uh, I think when you're playing a 9-game SEC schedule, 9 games is going to become the new 10-win season. It's the issue of how the selection committee, and the fact we still have a selection committee is just stupid, because you can't get the biases out of the room. You
But
can't tell me,
it's also 9 SEC games and an Ohio State non-con. Like it's
yeah,
stupid.
but you can't tell me that, and I have no idea who's going to be on the committee this year, but that the athletic director for Texas Tech doesn't do what he can to keep Texas or A&M, if they were in this situation, out of a playoff if they have any voice to it, because it just behooves them not to have those schools in if Tech has a chance to get in. The 2014 proposal, the things I like about it, and I know we're going to hear about, oh, it's too many teams and there's not 24 teams worthy of winning a national championship, is that it removes all the auto qualifiers. The only thing that winning one of the big conferences gets you is a seeding
Mm,
if you make it. But it's 24 at-large teams. Group of 6 is guaranteed 1 spot instead of 2. Uh, so there's some positives to be had, especially, and I know that it becomes a money issue. Part of that proposal is eliminating the conference championship games. So your regular season SEC champion is your regular season SEC champion. There is not
yeah.
another game added on. That week would be replaced by a first round set of games on campus. I
Two
think the
rounds on
propo-
campus
I
now,
think
not
the
just one.
proposal would be 2 rounds on campus. The campus games, even though A&M lost theirs against Miami, are a much better deal than going to a bowl game where it's 75% full. Um, so I think there's a lot of positives to be had. The fact that the ACC and the Big 12 and the Group of 6 are all seem to be behind it, seem to be taking some of the teeth out of the Big 10 and the SEC's power grasp. So that'll be really interesting to see how that works out from a power grab
That's
situation.
true. Yeah.
Because most of the time, if you told me, well, the Big 12 really cares about this, I'd go, that's fun. Can you get me more fries?
Yeah, you're true. It's true, man. You're not wrong. I guess the last thing I had on our little agenda to talk about of things that are ridiculous. Um, I think Ghislaine Maxwell's going to get pardoned, dude. Like I cannot, for the life of me, understand. It's almost like here's my Donald Trump is so cognitive test notwithstanding, seems so drunk with his current amount of power that he's continuously doing things that are unpopular, knowing they're unpopular. Um, we're seeing more and more of these like prediction market gambles on the oil before he makes an announcement one way or another about the war. Um, he's going to pardon Ghislaine Maxwell. I almost think he wants the Republicans to lose so he can say, "See what happens when I'm not on the ballot."
Yeah, I mean I don't know. I think the folly is assigning any kind of logical pattern of behavior to him, like there's an end goal to it. I think at this point he is just whatever he wakes up tomorrow morning feeling like that's what he's going to do. Uh, if I was Delane Maxwell, I would keep my mouth shut. I wouldn't talk to anybody because eventually things are going to go in her favor because Trump, I don't want to say compromised, but he's probably compromised, or at least the people who are funding him are compromised. So eventually, I think she is released from her minimum security uh, detention outside of Bryan, Texas, somehow. Um, and it's just going to be one more thing. It's one more thing that party ran on the Epstein files. No new wars, lower prices. That's just they're not going to follow through on. But their base doesn't seem to want to hold them accountable for any of it, which is just bizarre to me. The only hope that I have in this whole thing is the economy is real, regardless of what he shit posts about gas being at 2.79 and average across the country. That was something he posted last Sunday when it was 4:30. Um, is that people vote with their wallets the same way that the Harris campaign missed the mark by not acknowledging high prices and trying to convince people the economy was good, for
Yeah,
the same reason that the current regime is going to feel the pain at the voting booth this coming November because people aren't happy. People aren't happy with gas that's $4.50 a gallon. People aren't happy with the cost of groceries. People aren't happy about worrying about whether or not they're going to have a job. And to quote a famous president, it's the economy, stupid.
yeah, and it's getting crippling. And then having the Secretary of Transportation yesterday saying, "Oh, it's not that bad. I think everybody should take a road trip and go see our beautiful country." And it's like, um,
I will be
I
flying in pajamas to London in his honor.
yeah. When do you guys leave
Yeah,
for London?
27th.
Nice, nice.
So we'll work out a schedule where we do at least one remote from foggy London town,
Okay, governor.
or maybe a pub in Dublin.
I
We'll
love
figure something out.
I love that for you. Well, yeah, I mean, I guess it's it's all it's just we've got Marco Rubio giving the Pope a stupid crystal football filled with olive oil. I don't even know what that was about. The whole thing is just amateur
the
hour.
The Pope has plenty of oil.
Yeah,
I
and
mean, they've
olive oil.
got
He has plenty of olive oil.
olive oil. They've got that stuff that smells like Christmas trees they use year round. Believe me, I've been Catholic my whole life. We got oil. That's not an
Yeah,
issue.
yeah, yeah.
Um, but we're at war over oil too, or not a war, or we're starting a war. We're at a ceasefire where we're both firing missiles at each other. There's a lot going on, Jim,
It was a love
and
tap, Andy.
it's hard to keep. Yeah, it's hard to keep track of all the nonsense going on, and I think that's again part of the design. If there is a design that we're going to flood the field, and you're not going to notice that every Monday the market goes up because of some shit we did on Sunday, and then we let it ride down over the week, and then Monday we'll say something positive again, and markets will go up, and all my friends who have money in the market will make more money.
That's right. Well, that's where we are. I
And
know that we've got.
I don't know how your teacher's portfolio is, but mine's not great. Mine's not responding to this.
I don't. Luckily, don't look at that stuff. That's what I have a very smart wife for. But all right. Well, that does wrap up this edition. We have big days to get to. I'll be hanging out at the other UT. Andy, you're at the real one. Congrats again to Jake on his graduation. For Jim, I'm Andy. This has been Off Day with Ball Park Nation.
Thanks, baggers.
Thanks, bangers.